Fasting. Many people look at it as a very restrictive, challenging, and miserable way to burn fat. But the truth is that intermittent fasting can be used to burn fat faster and keep it off for longer than most other diet plans if it fits well with you, your body, and your preferences. And one of the number one areas that both men and women want to see a reduction in fat is from around the belly and the midsection. And even though a large systematic review showed that you can lose 4 to 7% of your abdominal fat in just 6 to 24 weeks with intermittent fasting, the rules of fat loss do not change regardless of what kind of diet plan you're on. Just like any other diet, intermittent fasting won't allow us to spot reduce and burn fat from only one area, but it can highly help many people reduce their overall body fat and lose inches off their waist faster than the traditional calorie restriction approach for 5 key reasons. Starting first with the unique effect that fasting has on your hormones. There are actually multiple hormones that will be affected when you fast, and one of the most important for fat loss is insulin. Whenever we eat, insulin levels rise, and when we fast, insulin levels drop significantly. In fact, not eating is by far the best and the fastest way to lower your insulin levels. And lowering insulin is important because insulin plays a big role in converting the energy that we get from food into fat. When your insulin levels are elevated, not only will you be more likely to store fat, but it'll literally prevent your body from breaking down previously stored fat for energy. And the exact opposite is also true. When your insulin levels drop, your body releases a hormone known as glucagon, which breaks down stored fat and converts it to usable energy in the form of glucose. Other than insulin, another very important hormone is leptin, which is a hormone that controls appetite by letting you know when you're full. It's produced by your fat cells, so people with high amounts of body fat actually have higher amounts of leptin circulating through their body, letting them know that they're full and that they should stop eating. However, the problem is that many people that are overweight develop a sort of tolerance to leptin known as leptin resistance, which prevents their brain from receiving the signal that they're full, ultimately making it very hard for them to burn fat. But the good news is that intermittent fasting has been shown to be very beneficial for improving leptin resistance. Contrary to the popular belief that you'll get hungrier the longer and longer that you fast, intermittent fasting has actually been shown to decrease ghrelin levels over time, and ghrelin is your hunger hormone. So decreasing hunger can definitely be advantageous for fat loss. Finally, one other important hormone known as HGH will shoot way up while you fast. Human growth hormone can be particularly helpful with burning fat and maintaining muscle during a fast. This is most likely the reason why muscle loss is really not an issue like many people previously thought it was when fasting for lengths of time under 48 to 72 hours long. In general, all of these hormonal changes prime your body for fat loss. Now, the second way that intermittent fasting can help certain individuals burn fat faster than they would with regular continuous calorie restriction is because it reduces the amount of calories that you eat on a daily basis without reducing the size, fullness, and quality of your meals. When you're eating 5 or 6 times a day and you're trying to stay in a calorie deficit to burn fat, your meals wind up being tiny. This could lead to a very unsatisfying experience every time you eat. If your meals start looking like 1 brown rice cake with half a tablespoon of peanut butter and only 3 almonds, it's easy to see how eating can quickly become more of a chore with no satisfaction rather than something that you actually enjoy. If you hate your diet, you're not going to stick to it, and it doesn't matter how good the diet looks on paper, if you don't stick to it, you're not going to lose any inches off of your waist. This is where intermittent fasting presents a unique advantage for many people. By only eating once or twice a day, you can have much larger and more filling meals that leave you satisfied, and you could choose from a larger selection of options that would normally be unavailable in a continuous calorie restriction model because those options may contain too many calories to balance out with 5 other meals. Now, this will benefit many people, but it's important to point out that what you gain in regard to the size of your meals, you lose in frequency of meals. So for some people, it may be easier to stick to a plan where they're able to eat more times throughout the day. Meanwhile, for others, intermittent fasting will work much better instead. This is highly dependent on personal preference, but for a large group of people, including myself, it can make dieting much easier. And that brings us to the third way that intermittent fasting can help you burn more fat in the long run. And that's by being more sustainable for many people. Eating 5 to 6 times a day requires planning and tracking what you eat in every one of those meals and ensuring that at the end of the day, everything balances out. A lot of people won't have the time to sit down and eat 5 times a day, let alone plan out and track every one of those meals. And even the people that can, it can once again quickly become a chore to constantly be meal prepping and thinking about your next scheduled meal, even if you don't want to eat it. Anyone ranging from stay-at-home moms to busy professionals can find the traditional dieting route very difficult to incorporate into daily life and to continue planning 5 meals a day for the long run. If you want to burn fat faster, it's very important to not constantly yo-yo back and forth by repeating the cycle of giving up and restarting your plan. If the simplicity of intermittent fasting makes it easier for you to stick to your diet, then this will obviously lead to significantly more fat loss in the long run, and it'll be easier to maintain. Now, another reason why fasting can help you burn fat and keep it off is because it'll give you more room for cheat meals. Now, I know this may sound counterintuitive. After all, how will cheat meals help you lose belly fat? But the truth is that we're all human, and we're all going to crave something like pizza and ice cream and fried foods every now and then. With the typical calorie restricted route, you're most likely going to have a very restricted cheat meal, meaning something like 1 scoop of ice cream or 1 slice of pizza. And that can work very well for some people to satisfy cravings and continue sticking to their plan for the long run, but for others, it could really leave you feeling deprived and cause you to either binge or quit. With fasting, on the other hand, depending on how you set up your feeding and fasting windows, you can go to a buffet and eat freely when you have your cheat meal without having to worry so much about how you'll fit it into your diet. To fit in a large cheat meal at the buffet, you can simply increase the length of your fasting window and decrease the length of your feeding window. So if you normally eat 2 to 3 meals a day over the course of 8 hours, on that one day that you decide to cheat, you can go to the buffet and switch over to just 1 meal a day for that day, where you would fast for 23 hours and only eat 1 meal. Now, of course, this does present its own problems. Some people really won't like fasting for so long and they'll feel really hungry, but just keep in mind, hunger is something that will subside the more that you practice fasting. Also, limiting yourself to 1 meal a day isn't the only way that you could have a really nice cheat day. You can also do something like alternate day fasting, where you have a really low amount of calories one day, and then the following day you're able to eat more freely, and that's when you would have your cheat meal at the buffet. In general, intermittent fasting provides a very flexible dieting structure that can make it much easier to incorporate cheat meals and to navigate around your biggest roadblocks. For example, if you struggle with late night eating, you can set up your feeding window to start later in the day so you can include a large meal at night. Rather than fighting against your desire to eat later at night, you can work around it and make fat loss easier in this way. Finally, I saved keto fasting as the last way that fasting can help you burn fat faster. Now, the ketogenic diet isn't for everyone, so that's why I saved this for last. But if you haven't figured it out yet, keto fasting is a combination of both the ketogenic diet and fasting. This will make your diet a little less flexible because you will have to adhere to a certain macronutrient split, but it's an incredibly effective way to speed up the amount of fat loss from fasting. With this method, you'll actually want to keep your carbohydrate consumption under only 5 to 10% of your total daily caloric intake during your feeding window, and then you'll still be fasting for at least 16 hours during the day. So this means your plan will be a little less flexible. For example, no grains, no starchy veggies, and you're pretty much limited to berries for your fruit. You'll also want to keep your protein intake right around 15 to 20% of your daily intake, and your fat should be around 75% of your total calories. Since protein and carbohydrates are both insulinogenic, by limiting them and combining that with fasting, you'll rapidly drop insulin levels and keep them really low, allowing for faster fat loss. Essentially, you'll keep your insulin levels very low both with the fasting and while eating, helping you stay in ketosis all day long. Now keep in mind, you don't have to follow a keto dieting structure all the time to experience faster fat loss. Just by throwing in a couple days where you do keto fasting and then by switching to more of a regular fasting approach on the other days, you'll still increase the amount of fat you're burning throughout the week. Just keep in mind, like I said, you have to make sure this fits with your preferences. If you're miserable on the days that you're following a keto fasting protocol, then you lose some of the best benefits of intermittent fasting, which include sustainability and enjoyment. That about wraps it up, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have, remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. Also, if you're looking for a done-for-you intermittent fasting plan that changes every week as your metabolism changes and adapts, visit my website and register for one of our challenges. On average, my clients are able to lose at least 20 pounds or 5% of their body fat in only 6 weeks while making changes that are sustainable for the long run. You'll get a 42-day diet plan that's customized based on factors like your weight, gender, and preferences. You'll also get a progressive workout plan and a full video exercise library so you're never left confused on what to do. And best of all, you'll get an accountability coach that's there to guide you through the entire process. To find out more and to learn how you can get the entire challenge for free by simply sticking to the plan, you can click the link below in the description, or you could visit my website directly at gravitytransformation.com. I'll see you guys soon.